Hey everyone, and a massive welcome to all our subscribers, first-time viewers, and of course LinkedIn members to a one-off special focusing on how to elevate your cyber career with Lauren Watkins. Lauren's the founder of LHW Recruitment Agency and has recently joined InfoSec Live Team's advisory board and is joining us today for a live and engaging session where we're going to be discussing the strategies for elevating you and your team's career. She's the founder of LHW and IT Recruitment and is passionate about empowering individuals. She bridges recruitment knowledge gaps and supports organisations across their initiatives, covering areas like diversity, equity and inclusion. As a community figure, Lauren, I can't even talk, Lauren, what's going on? Lauren is also offering free one-on-one LinkedIn and CV resume reviews this quarter to all of our InfoSec Live community members. Get your breath back. But before we bring her on, and for those new to the channel, I'm your host, Simon Linstead, and by sharing stories and best practices over the last few months, it's seen over 150,000 views here on YouTube by you, our amazing 228 subscribers. Can't get my breath today. So a huge thank you for your engagement, and thanks to your support, it's also led to the launch of our in-person community-driven events in the UK and US with a focus on knowledge sharing, networking, and definitely no sales pitches. If you want to check that out, and you're brave enough to click on it, there's a QR code there, and we've got 24 events planned across the UK, US and UAE in 2024, and exciting times next week in Austin, Texas, kicking off on the 25th for our first open mic discussion supported by our sponsors Procyon and Connect.io. Full list of our 24 events in 24 is right there through that link. But meanwhile, and back in the community, we have study groups, mentor sessions, and regular networking events to help you raise your game in cybersecurity, along with Lauren's amazing offer for CV and resume reviews. So if you haven't checked it out and you're not a member, make sure you join. QR code is right there. And again, if you want to support the wider InfoSec Live community, or indeed just buy me a cheeky decaf coffee, we do have a way you can show your appreciation right here on our YouTube channel with 3 tiers of membership, allowing you to show your support in any way that you can. But whether you join or not, being here and engaging with our content is what really matters. So if you're watching this live, please do like and subscribe. And as Prashant said in the comment, ring that bell to be notified of future content. Each and every one of our live shows gives you, our audience, the chance to engage with our guests. So make sure you drop any questions you have in the chat and we'll make sure we cover them off for you. Time for Simon to stop rambling. Let's bring Lauren on. Well, good evening.
Good evening, Simon. Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you for all your support. I suppose we should start off by saying that we were introduced by Ben, the new strategic director at InfoSec Live, and we met for the first time in London during Black Hat a few weeks ago. And ever since then, you've bent over backwards to help the InfoSec Live community. So firstly, thank you so much for that, and thank you for agreeing to become the first female member of our advisory board for the group as well. So yes. Thank you very much.
No, well, it has been amazing. Really enjoyed meeting a lot of the members actually in December. That was quite a lot of fun. And so excited for what we've got planned for 2024. So yeah, really looking forward to InfoSec. I think that one of the things, Simon, that I said that I loved about InfoSec, right, was like, firstly, our focus on education, training. We've really got like a bottom-up approach to the community, which is amazing. But also, I love face-to-face networking. If you haven't met me already, I love a chit chat. I love meeting people, and I think we've missed this, right, post-COVID. And to have 24 events in 2024 is amazing. So I'm looking forward.
I'm really excited about it. And before we get you to talk about your background and dig into the areas we're going to talk about, I suppose we should just mention that we are working very, very hard in the background. Now we've got Lauren on as an advisor to work out how we can build out this independent apprenticeship model to help businesses out there, and more importantly, or as importantly, to help people within the community who are looking to progress and get a career in cybersecurity. I mean, we've had this conversation, Lauren. There seems to be a massive disconnect between going out there and getting examinations and expecting to get a job and actual reality. I mean, before I talk about your background, what's your experience with that, with candidates?
It's really tricky, right? And I know this is a hotly debated topic, but there's loads of research that does indicate that there's a skill shortage, but there's also loads of candidates that have done certifications or boot camps and they're really struggling to get into organisations. So there's clearly a need to kind of bridge that gap and support both organisations and individuals can get early talent that has the right training for them. And some of the questions that candidates have had, I mean, I've been speaking with people today, what certifications do I actually need? What boot camps are actually useful? So people are doing a lot of training, they're educating themselves, but they're not sure on what the outcomes can be. So,
and is that question dependent upon, I suppose, the role they're going for, what kind of organisation they want to work for? Do we need to take a step back and look at that first, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's about roles, right? And one thing that's quite exciting, and I hope I can mention, Simon, is
of course. I don't know what it is, but feel free.
Okay, I'll go for it. But Q2, what we're going to do is like very short videos, right? Just explaining what different roles are. So like, what's a pen tester? What's an incident responder? What skills do you need? Again, bringing back community. People have a point of contact to actually ask questions to. So albeit there's loads of information online, some would actually argue, I would argue, it's information overboard. It's way too much.
Yeah.
So there needs to be kind of a clearer path line, but also I think it's also for us to speak to leaders and say, what is it that you need? We can train people up to be suitable, but let us know what it is that they need to be trained on, and then help to guide people through that process.
I completely agree. I'm super excited about the short videos as well.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Okay. I've sort of done this, as you in a technical term, ask about face, but let's talk about your journey in. So your background,
Yeah.
what's brought you to the tech industry, Lauren?
Well, firstly started off in HR, actually working for a major drinks retailer. So nothing to do with technology, but kind of learned about employee relations, PAYE, learning, training, development. Then moved into tech recruitment, and one, just because it was growing at such pace.
Yeah.
And that was financial services for quite a big kind of company, and we focused on everything software engineering, infrastructure, cybersecurity. Moved to a smaller firm, and now we were industry agnostic, and I was learning about things like VR headsets, deep fake, and I was thinking, what, this is amazing. And so I've decided to stay in technology because I'm not technical at all, but I really enjoy the space, mostly because it's just ever evolving, right? And the things that people can do or are doing are really mind blowing to me. Just think like, whoa, how have we gotten here so quickly?
Yeah.
So that's why
I think we all feel a little bit like that. Things have moved so fast the last few years, haven't they? They really have.
so fast. Yeah, and then you look online and they just say, I've heard someone say that we're going to have teleportation soon. And I'm like, really? How?
That'd be really useful because diesel and petrol cost a fortune at the
Why?
moment. So I'm in for that.
Yeah, exactly. Finish here,
And
go on
can you
holiday.
connect me with whoever told you that? Because I'd like to have
Right.
that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. So it's just exciting, really exciting.
Okay. The biggest thing about recruitment is you focus a lot of your time on helping other people.
Yes.
So you have to be, I think, a certain type of person to enjoy that. What is it that drives you to help other people? Don't just say the fees that you get for placing people, because that
No,
would be a crap answer.
that is a crap answer. That is definitely a crap answer, and one that I know many recruiters would never give.
Yeah,
Um,
but
but
maybe they may mean that.
Well, they probably do. I think for me, right, as you know, Simon, I love connecting people and I love connecting with people, right? So it is things like joining InfoSec Live community, really understanding what the landscape is, what do individuals need when moving in their career journey, what do hiring managers need when moving in their career journey. But also, I think it's really great, this role, being a recruiter, you get to know people so well. So I've
Yeah.
got people that I've placed, right? And they're like, oh, because I've moved into this position, I've now bought my first home, which is super amazing. Or they've worked with me and I'm like, because you've done this, I've now started my own business. And they're like, come on, Lauren, this is amazing. So it's great to just share your life, your professional
Yeah.
journey with a range of people, which I think recruiters were very lucky to do. Very lucky.
I completely agree. And what a refreshing answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
We talked about people going out there, and I'll use myself as an example so no one feels offended. But I went out there and chased certs and went for my OSCP probably about 10 years too early because I'd believed the hype.
Yeah.
What is important when it comes to getting a job? Is it obviously the certifications, the knowledge, being able to relate that is important, but building relationships and building your network? Let's talk about that.
Big time. I mean, I've seen some reports, right? And they say up to 85% of roles are filled by someone in your network. I'm not
Yeah.
convinced that it's that high, to be
I
honest.
bet it's not far off.
I don't think it's far off. And
No.
networking, obviously, I think it's very traditional to see it as the face-to-face networking, but digital networking is super important. And actually, in some of the sessions, I've been saying to people, even if you're not passively or actively looking for a role, keep your LinkedIn profile up to date, engage with peers, right? So a lot of people, I think what we're missing out on is cross-company communication and sharing of knowledge.
Yeah.
Reach out to peers, ask what are your company doing with your cyber objectives. They want to know what you're doing, right? So it's a mutual exchange of information. See kind of are there budgets, what are they doing around cloud security, what certifications are really important, what locations are really important, and get to know the market. So networking is important, not just from a job perspective, right? But it helps you to know where do you kind of fit or rank across from
100%.
your peers.
Yeah. If you've got nothing to compare it to, you haven't got a clue.
You haven't got a clue. And sometimes I've kind of spoken with people that like, I've been 5 years in my job and I kind of don't know what to do now, and I'm completely lost. And whilst recruiters like myself, of course, we can support you. I think sometimes the best people to speak to are people in your industry. They do what you do day to day and they can give you insights. They want to know about you too. So it's not a one-way stream.
Yeah.
So I would say
And I think this is the heart of what the Info Live community is about as well, trying to bring people together at every level to share their experiences and maybe help each other or stop each other from making the same mistakes that we have.
Yeah,
I think that's crucial, isn't it?
I think so. And I think most people are super open to supporting other people, sharing information. I was actually saying during one of my sessions back in December, I said to a lady, like, reach out to a few organizations that you're really interested in and just ask them, what are you guys doing? What technologies are you using? If I were going to interview, what do I need to do? And they created a role for her, offered her a job. She didn't have to go through a normal interview process, and now she's just
Wow,
started. She didn't have to like
amazing.
apply to loads of, different jobs. And I think that's, you really want to put yourself at the forefront, digitally and physically.
Yeah, it's getting back to that physical, the physical contact as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Attending networking events, going to places like B-Sides, going to the InfoSec Live networking events, and meeting your peers, and that's where you find the opportunities. I think we've had so many questions come in. I need to start digging into these if you're happy with that, and I'm going to bring them up in chronological order. Let me move you to the top so it doesn't cut off half of your
Okay.
face. There we go. Mr. Ben James in the house. Are there specific skills or certifications that are particularly valuable in the current job market, or that you see becoming more crucial in the near future?
To be honest, from my experience, no, which I know is always a difficult response. I honestly think it's less about skills and more about aptitude and attitude. And I find the people that are the most successful from kind of moving in a market are people that actually are just engaging with the community. They're staying ahead of the curve. And that's not always about certifications, right? It's about saying, I've spoken to so many people here, and this is what they're doing about cloud security. This is what we need to implement in our organization. It doesn't matter what certification that you've got, right? You've now just added something that's super valuable to the company that you work for. That attitude, I think, is crucial to success.
100%. I think you mentioned the word cloud security there. I suppose one comment from me with the people that I've spoken to recently, that cloud security is definitely seeing an uptick in the requirement for candidates who actually know what they're talking about. And I think if you look at all the threat actors and threat groups out there, most of their attacks are through the cloud now.
Yes.
And I think for the younger generation coming through, this makes absolute sense. Whereas for the people who've been in the industry a long time, we've seen it hop from different attack faces. So yeah,
Yeah.
cloud security, I think, is definitely an area that people should look at.
I think
Next
that's one.
question then. Oh, sorry, Lauren, go on.
From a skills perspective, no, I was just about to say, I think that is one of the biggest skills gaps, to be honest, cloud security within cybersecurity. So I have seen some studies where that kind of comes up as one of the top skills gaps. However, I think it's hard for people to overly focus on one thing, and attitude and aptitude to me should not be underrated.
Agreed. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's what every employer looks for, isn't it? Every
Yes.
employer looks for aptitude and aptitude. Okay, next one. Mad Dog Prashant in the house. Has the use of ATS to shortlist candidates caused more harm than good? Good question.
No, I don't think so. I think that we've always had an issue, right? Or with, even before ATS, is like loads of candidates applying for roles and people just never actually looking through the job applications. So at least ATSs are processing them. A lot of recruitment agencies, they're not going through 3,000 different CVs.
No.
So at least you're actually going to get looked at where historically you haven't. But one thing that I do want to highlight, and I'm saying to a lot of people, especially in a job market like we're in now, which is quite tricky, you have to be proactive as a candidate. So if I were looking for a job, if I knew who the company kind of was, which you should do if you're applying for them, try and find out who the recruitment partner is, try and figure out who it is that you'll be reporting into, and just say, hi, I've just put through an application, really look forward to hearing your feedback. Make sure that your LinkedIn is up to date, that you're kind of putting out information about what you're interested in, right? So they can see.
And would you connect with people in the team if you could find them as well?
I would connect with people in the team, definitely.
Yeah.
Connect with people in the team and be very proactive with them. Sometimes people ask questions like, well, I haven't gotten any feedback. I appreciate that's super frustrating, but be proactive. Message the recruitment company, message the hiring manager, say, hi, I've just applied for your role. It's been a week, not had any feedback. Really interested to hear your thoughts, or I would really love to work for your company. So I don't think ATS has harmed candidates. I think a lot of candidates just weren't being seen.
Do you think it's a bit of a thankless task sending your CV off to 100 different jobs each week? I suppose is my question related to that ATS, because if the ATS is blocking you, surely
Yeah.
you need to look at a different way. Back to what you're saying about making connections and.
I think so, and I think it's a thankless task, right? Most people, I don't think, get positive responses, like even if you're really good for the job, and that's why I think people have to have a more proactive approach and going back to that human contact of reaching out to the
Yeah,
recruitment partner, the hiring manager, saying that you're interested in them, following up to show how important it is to you, because I know that it's tricky. I've spoken to so many people who have sent off hundreds, it sounds like, applications and
yeah,
heard nothing back.
yeah.
So I think the
But
approach
that's
needs to be
that's the
different.
definition of insanity, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I think we
Yeah,
all know the ATS systems are hard to get through. Maybe try that. Maybe try approach.
yeah, that's what I think. I think it's time to switch up the approach. Also, speak to, it's again building up your network, right? Build up your network in the industry. Speak to recruiters like myself. Go to events. Be very transparent. I think people are very like open to vulnerability and say, this is what I'm looking for. Please let me know if you know of any opportunities. Connect with them on LinkedIn. Follow up with them on LinkedIn a week after. That is the way to really make yourself stand out and to start getting responses back.
You mentioned the word follow up. Last week, I got a response back, a rejection for a job application that I applied for in October 2022. Apparently, I wasn't the right candidate. I've retired since then, so it's a little bit late, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a bit
But
like.
I suppose better late than never. At least they've
At
actually
least they got
responded.
back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I sent them a thank you email, obviously.
Yeah.
Anne Earl. Anne says the diversity perspective is really exciting, especially because of the potential issues starting to come to the fore regarding AI. Do you know what Anne means by that? And if so,
Yeah,
would you like to address it?
I believe so. I believe that there's some concerns with AI, right? That people that are kind of creating these systems don't come from diverse demographics.
They all
And
look like me, you're saying. Yeah.
right, Simon,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so it's
We
naturally.
are the problem. I am aware of that.
Yeah, but do you know what I think, right? People, many companies, I'm very interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Many companies are really passionate and they really struggle to attract a diverse demographic. But I think the answer has to be with your teams, right? Where are you putting your job ads? And it is going to different organizations. So there's like tech for disability, black tech events, women in tech events. Are you putting your job advertisements there? If, let's say, your office is accessible for people with disabilities, is that on your job description? If your
Yeah.
closest train station is accessible for people with disabilities, is that on your job description? It's things like that that will encourage people from different demographics to apply to your organisation. And sometimes, right, you may not be aware of all the different platforms that you can post about your company and what you're doing. So
Yeah.
do partner with third parties like LHW or others that are kind of specialist in the diversity field and have a track record of matching diverse talent with organisations. I think it's hard to combat the AI situation because I can't go and program these AI
No.
sites. But that's where it comes back to that human element and not just relying on technology.
100%. And I think whilst there are a lot of companies out there genuinely trying to make a difference on the diversity, equity, and inclusion front, there's also a lot of companies out there ticking the box and saying that they are
Yes.
trying to do that. Let's be honest. And it's
Yeah.
finding out which ones are the real ones and which ones aren't. It must be quite difficult.
So difficult. Do you know what? I have and for anyone that wants it, I can share it after. It's an exclusion survey. So it's just something that organisations can use to actually see how inclusive they are. And it's things, it should be filled in anonymously and sent out by your leadership team or HR team. Like, are you ignored by your colleagues? Do you feel like your values align with your organisation? There's just so many different questions to ask. And then people can actually start to see, are we
A
actually
pattern.
inclusive? Yeah,
Yeah.
is there a pattern? Are there certain teams or locations where we have problems? And they have to be very proactive in addressing that if that is one of their initiatives.
I'd love to see that. It'd be really
Yeah.
good if you could share that. That'd be amazing. Maybe you could share it in the InfoSec Live community. That'd be okay
Yes,
afterwards.
definitely,
Perfect. Right.
definitely.
Next question. It says Mobile Mayhem here, but his name's actually Colby. Good to see you, Colby. Are certifications more valuable than customer service and passion for the field, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I would say absolutely not. I've met so many people that have multiple certifications, right? And then you speak to them on the phone and you would never want to work with that person in a million years. And so I think customer service and passion
Not that we're saying that everyone with certifications is like that, Lauren. Let's just clear that up.
No, no, I'm not saying that's for everyone, but I just don't think people should get them and think, okay, now I've got this, I now deserve 10k more, or I now deserve whatever it is, this next role. I think that these certifications are to show that you are kind of passionate about cybersecurity, to show that you actually do have a kind of set level of knowledge about a certain field, and they're to bolster who you are, what you've delivered, your passion, and how you kind of come in every day to your current job, not as a replacement to passion and service. Oh no, am I frozen? I think I'm frozen.
I think it's
Oh,
me.
okay. Oh, okay,
It's
cool.
me. I've got a sign come up saying connection lost, reconnecting, which probably means one of my many, many children are using the internet downstairs. So I apologise for that.
Okay.
And I can't actually remember what I was saying either. So let's move on. Let's move on to the next question. Ben asks, are there any specific areas in the job market that are in high demand? I think you've already answered that one earlier on. Someone else posed that. Anne's got another good one. So if you don't use ATS, how do you screen applicants?
How do we screen applicants? From a recruitment perspective, mine is all just conversation. So I love to have a telephone call or a video call. And the main thing that we're looking for is, like, one, are you who you say you are? Can you do the job that you say that you can do? But it mostly is those things like attitude, right? Like screening you about what are your preferences for remote working, what's super important to you. And I think sometimes when we're speaking to candidates, we help them to refine what's important to them. Is it work-life balance? Is it someone that, offers someone that supports your different faith needs? Is it someone that gives you the childcare flexibility, and to kind of match them up for the right role? I think that's how we screen people. It's a longer process, but I think you come out with more relevant matches.
That's a very, and I'm all there for the childcare issues as well. Having 6 of them myself, it can get very, very difficult. Next one, Carey, and this actually relates to another one that we've just had through from Colby. So I'll bring up Carey's and then I'll bring up Colby's. Carey's is, how do I reflect on my LinkedIn profile for recruiters? I've been trying to edit it to be seen and I just want to give up. And come on, Carey, that's not the positive attitude we love to hear. And Colby's followed that up with, how would you go about selling your customer service and passion to recruiters? So maybe we can link those two together.
For
Because we were
sure.
talking about the passion piece. How do we demonstrate that?
So, from a LinkedIn recruitment perspective, actually, there's a few things that would stand out for me. So, it's one, make sure that you've got a profile picture, ideally like a banner, make it kind of visually pleasing. In your About You section, if you don't have one already, put in things about what are you currently doing and what would you like to do. So are you a cyber engineer that would like to be an architect? Are you an instant responder and you now want to kind of go into a management position? Make sure it's very clear what you would like so recruiters know what to message you about. But also in the body of your LinkedIn, put in what you've done, and try, if you can, and make it as specific as possible. So, manage a budget of 5 million, grew that to 10 million, or manage a team of 5, or reduce risk by 30%. Just so recruiters can really see what you've done, but what you've impacted. Now, in terms of selling your customer service and passion to recruiters, I think having a very clear LinkedIn page on what you've done and what you're interested in does that. But also, branding is super important in 2024. So put out posts on LinkedIn, say, like, read this really cool article, that was amazing. So glad that I watched this TikTok video, this was really funny. Put out all of the things that you're interested in. I think branding hasn't been ever as important as it is now. And even from a kind of candidate perspective, push that.
I completely agree, and I've been trying to do 2 things at once. So I had a call with a chap called Dr. Mansour Habib, I think 2 years ago, and again a couple of weeks back. He is a cybersecurity leader, veteran. He's been in the industry a long, long time. He's also been, I think he's been a professor at universities talking about cyber and teaching cyber as well. But he's also got a book called Bring Your Inner Greatness Out, I think is what it's called. And it's all about personal branding. And I know for a fact that he offers free copies of this book. If you connect with him on LinkedIn, say that you're looking for work. I mean, this is if you haven't got money, right? If you've got money to buy the book, go and buy a copy. But if you haven't, if you approach him on LinkedIn, he's going to hate me for this, isn't he? If you haven't got the money and you're struggling at the moment, he gives away these books for free, and it is a masterclass in personal branding. I would highly recommend it. So I'm going to put his LinkedIn link in the chat there. and see
Yay.
what he comes back to me with tomorrow. Let's see
Hundreds
what
of
happens
books have been
there.
delivered for free.
But Kerry said, sorry, Simon, I was just being honest. Fair enough, mate. I have all what Lauren is saying, but I've had recruiters say that my profile just isn't any good. Maybe, Kerry, I will ask Lauren very nicely if she would just do a quick review of, oh, look, Ben, great minds think alike. Hi, Kerry.
Yeah.
You should ask Lauren to review it for you and see if she can help. I'm also happy to help. There you go. So I think he has sent you a connection request, Kerry. He said it earlier on in the chat.
Lovely.
So if you don't mind doing that, Lauren, that would be
I don't
amazing.
mind.
Just seen Jed jump in as well. Good to see you, Jed. You're not late. It's good that you're here. Right, back to the questions. We've got some more, I think. Prashant says, with 6 kids, we need a country and western style show. Well, I'm going to Texas next week, so I'll make sure I get the hat to bring back for that. And Alison, next question. Here we go. How can AI be used to benefit recruiters and a candidate's job search in return? Good question.
That is actually good. I have put up a post actually about how AI, so candidates can use AI to say, put into ChatGPT, for example, what companies are hiring in New York, or what skill set is the most in demand, and see kind of what response it comes back with. I think the only thing that I would say about AI and it actually being effective is it's still a relatively new field, and the data that's being input, it's not kind of like the latest data.
It's like me, isn't it? It's a bit old.
It's getting its latest update. It's still being updated.
Yeah, I don't even have updates available anymore for this.
Yeah.
Go on.
Exactly. So I think like people should be like, I put up a post about how you can use AI to support your job search, like identifying companies that you should work for, redoing your CV. But if I'm being completely, transparent, I've had some people who have said they've used AI to update their CV. They should have just done it themselves. Honestly, it's just not there.
I think AI is great, but again, I use it now and again if I can't quite get the words for something I want to put out there. But I will never copy and paste that straight into anything. I will always then make sure I turn it into my own voice and like you say, check for errors, because the data is a little, and it does regurgitate the same stuff a lot as well.
Exactly.
It really does. I'm going to drop your LinkedIn profile so you can moan at me as well. I'm going to drop your LinkedIn profile in there as well. We've got so many questions coming in. I'm going to have to go back to these. I haven't even asked you half of mine yet, and we're running out of time. Look.
This is exciting.
Where are we? It is exciting. Thanks ever so much, everyone, for being so engaged today. It really, really does make a difference. And again, Anne says, what kind of feedback do you ask of employers? And is this then fed back to candidates?
So yeah, for sure. Especially, so if they've been interviewing, I'm assuming that this is once they've had an interview process, I always ask for feedback, right? So there's kind of 2 reasons. 1, a candidate needs that to improve, but 2, from a selfish reason, or kind of, it's not that selfish actually, it's my own investment. I need to understand why that candidate failed. So if they say, actually we realise that we don't need someone with that skill set, that makes me know, well, I'm not going to put anyone forward with that skill set again.
Yeah.
Feedback is super important, 1, to refine our recruitment process, but also candidates really do need the feedback. One thing that I would also say here, because I have seen candidates post-interview say their recruiters aren't giving them feedback. Again, that's on the recruiter to do that first and foremost, but I would say follow up. The moment you've had an interview, 2 days later, hey, has there been any feedback? If there's not, hey, has there been any feedback? And another tip that I would say, which I think has been missing out of recruitment, is even if you fail a job interview or, they don't proceed with your application, message the hiring manager and just say, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Those things really go a long way, leaving a great review. So that's
a great impression for future opportunities as well, because you don't know where that hiring manager is going to be in a year, 2 years time either, do you?
Exactly. So super important.
Okay. Sorry, I was then going to type, so I can't do 2 things at once. So there we go. Hey Daniel, I could have just said that, couldn't I? Hey Daniel, nice to see you, Aaron, as well.
Yes.
I think we've got another question up here. Let me just check. Yep, Krishna. There we go. Is a cover letter mandatory for every job application? I love this question, actually.
I would say absolutely not. I don't know anyone that reads them. I'm really against cover letters, actually. And any company, unless they force you to do it on their website, and then you have to do it. I don't even know if people read them, Krishna.
Really?
No, honestly, I really don't know if people read them. I don't read them, if I'm being completely transparent. I want to read your CV, I want to look at your LinkedIn page, and then I want to have a conversation with you. I think that there's slowly the push for cover letters is on the decline, and less companies are actually asking for that in a job application. For me, what stands out on your job application is your CV, but it's also your digital CV, your LinkedIn.
Prashant just said, I got rejected for an application because I didn't provide an optional cover letter. Love that.
But
Prashant, you clearly don't want to work for them anyway, Prashant.
Yeah, you don't work for them. But also, I would love to know, did they give you that feedback, Prashant, or is that your assumption?
I think it's probably his research has found that out. I would have thought, rather than an assumption, knowing Prashant, he'd be quite thorough.
Okay.
My question I'm going to bring up here, here we go, because if you haven't got a cover letter, how much should you tailor your CV or resume for every job you apply for?
I think that is actually quite important to do. The difficulty with it, if I'm being honest, with job descriptions, is sometimes job descriptions are so broad that you can't tailor your feet. Okay, sorry, Prashant, fair enough. But sometimes the role is so broad that you can't tailor your CV for every single role, right? Yeah. My advice would be, if you're going through a recruitment agency, ask the recruiter what skill sets are their non-negotiables. Really, what are they looking for, and then tailor it to that information. I think it is a good idea to tailor your CV and resume to each job if you can, but some job descriptions are just too broad to tailor it to.
Okay, that makes absolute sense. But I think one of the things I see people doing, or have seen people doing, is sending out the same CV for different jobs. And I think if there's an about you section as a minimum, I would say you probably want to tailor or tinker with that and get the right buzzwords in for whatever those mandatory requirements were for the role, Lauren. Would that make sense?
I think that completely makes sense. But I also think, again,
why didn't I get a job then when I was writing?
I was just about to say though, Simon, if you're only doing online applications, well, it's great that you tailored your CV, but you may not hear back regardless.
I was more naive then, and I must have applied for over 50 roles within about 2 weeks, and I heard back from 4 of them now, because I heard back,
from 2022
last week from one from 2022, which was amazing. I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions on here. We've gone over time. I said we do half an hour today. You don't mind staying on for another 5 minutes just to cover these? Is that all right? Brilliant. Okay. How can you not only attract talent into your team, this is as an organisation, so coming from an employer, but how can you attract them and how can you retain them as well, is my question for you. Because it's like a merry-go-round, this industry, of people job hopping all the time.
Do you know what?
Makes it hard.
It makes it so hard. Fortinet did a survey, 2023, global, within cybersecurity, right? And it showed 56% of organisations struggled to attract cybersecurity talent. 54% struggled to retain them. So I think it's super important, right? What are you actually looking for? This is where recruiters come in, both internal and external, to have realistic conversations with hiring managers. I know sometimes they're looking for unicorns, and it's for recruiters to say, look, unicorns can't be a part of this. You're not going to find this person for what you're looking for, but here is this person, they're really good for your organization, and here are the reasons why. So I think that that's super important, to have consultative conversations with hiring managers about realistically what they can attract. And then the second thing would be, in terms of retaining talent, is doing things like the exclusion survey, which I will share in the InfoSec Live community. And it's really understanding, why are people leaving? So doing exit interviews. If you have a remote first team, right? We all know, I think it's been widely discussed, mental health issues. So are you being proactive with having conversations with your team? If it's not you, occupational health, if you've got an occupational health advisor, whoever it may be, to ensure that you understand why people are leaving, but also then you can put systems, policies, procedures in place to prevent that.
Okay, thank you. Anne's mentioned that her colleague Alvin can't link into the chat. I expect it's because he isn't logged into YouTube, which stops you being able to comment, but he wants to know if there's mentoring support to help with career development. If you come and join us, Alvin, in the InfoSec Live community, there's nearly 6,000 of us in there now, and many of which will offer up some of their time for free to help and guide you. We don't offer any paid services in the community. The community is free and it will always stay free. So we rely on other people to help contribute with the members. If you reach out to me or Lauren and let us know what exactly it is the area you want mentoring in, I can then look at matching you up with someone who can help with that. So yes, more than happy to help. Okay, I think I've got one more question. Where are we? Okay. Talk to me about how organisations benefit from working with a specialist like you. You were talking about the fact you specialised in diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
You do things a little bit differently to other recruiters. Well, if I'm an employer out there, I hear that from every recruiter, right? They all say the same thing: we're different, when the majority of the time they're not. Having known you for the last few weeks, I know that you are different, but it would probably come better from you as to explaining why.
Yes, for sure. Well, we are different, LHW. Yeah. Our tagline is straightforward relationships, right? I think, which is very fundamental to what we do. So it's having honesty and clarity. One of the things that we do is, if it's a permanent position, within 48 hours, we come back to you following a role briefing with candidates. And if not, we'll come back to you with an overview of the market. So we might say, hi, Mr. or Mrs. Hiring Manager, we've gone out and actually there's 100 people in New York with the skill set that you're looking for. We've actually managed to get responses from 5 of them. And the reason they're not going to leave their organisation is because they've got flexibility or they're on all of these salaries. And this is why we need to tailor what your offering is to make it competitive. That's great for 2 reasons, right, for companies. One, they don't have to spend as much time. It makes the process quicker. They don't have to spend as much time speaking to me, and they can do what I'm sure they'd rather do full time, which is their job. But 2,
sure, that's not true, but carry on.
I hope it's not true, but they always seem to hang up quickly, Simon.
So I get used to it. I've been rejected my whole life now. It's fine. Yeah, I quite like it.
Yeah, exactly. But the second thing is, from a candidate perspective, right? Most candidates, if not all, love a quick process. So if we can say to the hiring manager, look, we need to move this along, it shows the candidate that this is a priority hire for them, that the company is super interested in them, that they're an efficient company, and it makes the candidate more likely to accept. So we're very honest, we're very clear, and we put in key milestones for clients and candidates to make the process as smooth as possible. And the second thing is truly being people oriented. So obviously being a part of communities like InfoSec Live, really kind of speaking to our members, both candidates and kind of leaders who are looking to hire into their teams, to understand what is it that you don't need. I'm not selling, I don't know, a saddle to a fish. I'm finding that the fish out.
That's a new one for me. I've never heard that before. Did you make that up then, or is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't even say the only one that sounds similar, because I'd clearly get struck off YouTube for using that language. But
I don't know what the analogy is, but
just imagining trying to put a saddle on a fish right now. Right. Quite difficult. Slippery little beggars.
It is. So that was obviously, not the greatest analogy, but
it's probably quite a good analogy, really, for what you're trying to describe. And we can all picture trying to put that saddle on a fish.
Not going to work.
It's not going to work. No. This is a catfish, because you could hold on to the whiskers.
Yeah, that's true.
Am I overthinking it now?
If they're strong enough, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah, but I think it's good. And then, then we understand struggles. So, like, I think, what we've been talking about apprenticeships, supporting with that. A lot of things that I've spoken with leaders about is we're not able to achieve our cyber objectives on time because of shortages, because of different barriers. So one of our offerings is parachuting in SMEs. So whether it is CISO advisories to help refine your cybersecurity strategy and actually execute on that, what skill set that you need, even if it's on a temporary basis, we can help support organizations and really tailor talent to suit your needs.
To fit that saddle.
To fit the saddle.
I'm going to have to think how I can get that into conversation. Okay, we've got 2 more questions before we wrap up that people have dropped in. I just want to bring these up quickly. Krishna's is a relevant one, and I'm interested to know the answer to this. Are the number of applicants we see on LinkedIn job postings an accurate representation about the number of applications received?
Yes, Krishna, I would say they are, but I would say 95% of them are completely irrelevant. So I've put up job applications, and if you see the kind of, people with what backgrounds they apply for is completely irrelevant. So I would always say apply, don't be deterred, please, please, please apply. But again, going back to, because sometimes there can be so many applicants and everyone's only got X amount of time, follow up with that recruiter, follow up with the company, follow up with the hiring manager to say, hi, I've just sent you my CV. So many people actually do that, and they're usually the ones that are the most relevant. And I always respond back to them because I'm like, wow, you've actually read the job description. You really want this role. So please do that to stand
Can
up.
I give a top tip? So this is a personal top tip, not a representation of InfoSec Live or any other companies associated with it. Just get that in there first. One thing I've forgotten what I was going to say. I keep thinking about that saddle and fish. I've remembered what it is. So when you see people post a job on LinkedIn, I can guarantee that if you scroll down to the comments underneath, there'll be one word that will be prevalent right throughout that stream, and it's the word interested, right? So if you see a job on LinkedIn on a post that someone's sharing, I've got to tell you now, putting interested on that's not going to get you anywhere, right? Am I right with this? Because it's a bit of a pet hate of mine, really. It's like, why are you doing that?
Why? I agree. Reach out to the person directly. They're interested.
Yeah. Or RTFQ, isn't it? Which is what I used to get taught in financial services when it came to sitting exams, which is read the question. I think again, there's too many people, and we as a society are terrible for this. We skim read everything. We just read headlines now. We don't read anything, or many of us don't read anything with any detail. And I think, again, make sure you read what it is first before you start putting things like interested on there. But Prashant's interested. You're in, Prashant. Yeah, I'll give you a call tomorrow. Yeah. One more, I think there was. Let me just check. Here we go. This is from Yash. How can one prepare different resumes for different zones or countries while applying for international jobs? Like, what's acceptable in the UK? That's a great question. Like, what's acceptable in the UK? I mean, it's resume or CV is the argument there, I think, because there's different terminology in the States for what a CV and what a resume is. Am I right?
Yeah, for sure. There's different terminology. If you compare, like, let's say the UK to Europe, many people in Europe put pictures on their CVs. Many people in the UK don't. I think the truth is, really do lean on recruiters, right? People that are in agency, they really want to get your details if you want to move over to their country or the country that they're kind of operating in, and put you forward to companies that they're working with. So just say, like, hi, do you mind reviewing my CV? How would you kind of optimize this? What things would you change? And get a few different versions ready. If I'm being completely honest, Yash, I don't know if it makes that much of a difference.
Sorry, I'm just reading Prashant's comment.
If you can't pronounce tomato.
Tomato. I can't do it. I'm going to give up. Come on, Lauren, do it. Draw the accent. Tomato.
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 No?
Tomato.
I don't know. I'm sorry for anyone living in the northeast.
Same. I love the accent.
Yeah, just can't do it.
Yeah, I can't do it. And I didn't also know that was facts, Prashant, so thank you.
It is facts. Prashant only speaks facts. So would you have a different resume or CV for different time zones effectively then? Different areas? Or what would you do?
Honestly,
or would you make your mind up where you want to work first?
I don't
offense.
think it's that.
That sounded a bit snipey, that did, Yash. I didn't mean it like that at all. The world is your oyster, but I do think that honing in on what area you want to work in first is probably a win-win.
I think honing on it. I also think, I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, if I'm being honest. Like, some people say to me, oh, should I put a picture on my CV or should I take it off? Or I'm just like, ultimately, if you can do the job, you can do the job.
It's not going to help, is it?
It's not going to help, but also speak to recruiters, right? Get us to give you our specialist feedback and say, actually, because it's not always just about location, I'd say it's more important the company that you're applying for. So focus your CV more on the company than the country.
Okay, that's a good point. Thank you very much. I think we should probably draw it to a close there because we've gone over time a little bit. I want to just say a couple of things quickly. Firstly, thank you so much for taking the time, not only to come on here, but to help out with the InfoSec Live community. And going back to what we were saying at the start, for anyone who missed it, we are working really, really hard behind the scenes. If you imagine a duck floating on the water like this, our legs are like that now. Working hard, trying to work out how we can implement an effective apprenticeship scheme that will work for any size business. So if anyone's got any ideas, thoughts, opinions, that they want to get involved and help us with that, please do reach out to myself. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I just think the way the industry is working at the moment, it isn't working when it comes to bringing people in. So we need to try and look at a way of fixing that. And without someone with your experience and expertise, Lauren, it would make it even more difficult. So thank you. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in. It's been a really engaging one today. Sorry for the poor jokes. But if you would like a chance to speak to Lauren Moore, or even find out how you can saddle a fish, please do come and join the community. The link is there, or you can connect with her on LinkedIn. Let me just drop your LinkedIn link there as well. And obviously, if anyone's got any questions and they want to speak to me, and Phil's interested in how I've got a television now that's impacting the amount of children I have, happy to have that kind of conversation. Reach out through the community. It'd be great. But for everyone, have an amazing rest of the day wherever you are in the world. Lauren, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any final words before we go? Words of wisdom.
Love this
Put
session.
you on the spot.
And I hope to meet people. I hope to meet everyone. And don't saddle a fish.
Don't saddle a fish. Amazing. Thank you so much. I've got to find the outro video now. If you could just fill in for me for a minute while I squint my eyes at the screen. There we go. Everyone, have a great day. Phil, safe travels on the train. Everyone else, see you later. Take care. Bye.
Bye.